Just a few days from now, the NBA is set to hold the NBA Draft Lottery on May 10th, 2026. By the time you're watching this, it may have already happened. But the looming question that hangs over the entire broadcast is, will we see a repeat of last year? Last year on February 1st, Luka Doncic was traded to the Los Angeles Lakers for Anthony Davis and a few other assets. And, as many know, it was so unbelievable that Shams had to literally confirm that he was not hacked when reporting the trade. Just 3 months later, the Dallas Mavericks won the number 1 pick in the draft for Cooper Flagg. The NBA says that Dallas won with only a 1.8% chance, making them the 4th largest underdog to win the lottery since the NBA lottery began in 1985. Dallas had also never won the draft lottery up to that point. And so, going into this year, fans are already on edge and looking for things under the microscope. NBA Communications on Twitter listed who will be present for the lottery results. But before we get into all that, real quick, in order to celebrate the Spurs in the playoffs, I have released this design on nathanbutt.net, which is my merch store in the description. It is inspired off of Loteria cards to pay homage to the Hispanic and fiesta culture all around San Antonio and the Spurs, with calling Wemby the alien. It's available now as a shirt and sticker with the link in description, and if this sells well, I will be making more of it, like De'Aaron Fox as El Zorro and Stephon Castle as El Castillo, and many more ideas that I have. I thank you all in advance for ordering if you do, and thank you all for clicking on this video in the first place. Anyways, back to the video. As we mentioned, fans are already feeling skeptical, and that attention moves to Indiana and Milwaukee. The NBA's own media graphic lists Dustin Doperak from the Indianapolis Star and Wheat Hotchkiss from Pacers.com inside of the lottery drawing room. Indiana enters with a 14% chance at number 1 and a 52.1% chance to land in the top 4. This matters because the Pacers only keep their pick if it lands within that top 4 range. If it falls to 5th, it goes to the Clippers. So the fact that Indiana already has these media members in the room, on top of the fact that they have not picked top 4 since Rick Smits in 1988, again, people start buying into the conspiracy. Milwaukee has the same suspicions as before, but even further. The Bucks only have 3% odds at number 1. If you look at this data point on its own, it just seems like a local reporter that's witnessing the process. But if the Bucks somehow come out with this miracle of the pick, then dots start to be connected. We've seen a lot of Giannis uncertainty with where he will go with the Bucks' success these last few years, and they only have a 3% chance. With the Milwaukee reporter in the room, if they end up winning, it seems like, again, a save for the Milwaukee franchise the same way Cooper Flagg was for the Mavs. This may seem like I'm picking at straws, but in 2025, this same sort of situation happened. People noticed that the media connections to Dallas, San Antonio, Philadelphia, Charlotte, and Utah aligned perfectly with the top 5 that was Dallas, San Antonio, Philadelphia, Charlotte, and Utah. To understand why fans are so quick to believe this, you have to understand how the lottery system actually works. The modern lottery uses 14 ping pong balls, numbered obviously 1 through 14. 4 ping pong balls are dropped, creating 1,001 possible combinations. The NBA assigns 1,000 of those combinations to the lottery teams and leaves 1 combination unused. These first 4 picks are drawn that way. Then picks 5 through 14 fall back in reverse order based on record. But the part fans see on TV is not the part where the picks are actually created. The ping pong balls drop way before the actual broadcast is shown. These results are sealed in the envelopes, and then Mark Tatum walks out and reveals them in reverse order like a game show host opening a final briefcase. That setup is great television, but it also shows the kind of conspiracy theories that people love, because by the time the fans are watching, the thing that they care about the most has already happened in a different room. The strangest part is that the NBA Draft Lottery used to look a lot more honest to the average fan, and the process itself was a lot more easier to question. In 1985, the first real NBA Draft Lottery featured David Stern standing in front of everyone and just pulling envelopes out of a sort of bingo mixer. The whole thing was televised to see it actually live, not a summary of the results like it is now. Except, even then, it had rigged allegations. People slowed down the footage and watched the way that David Stern handled the envelopes. They pointed at the creases and the temperature rumors and every tiny movement that looked a little bit out of place. That one lottery became so infamous that it stopped being a basketball rumor and became more of a full internet conspiracy. It became so big that it eventually escaped basketball entirely, that even Wendigoon covered it. And while he does touch sports when the conspiracy is massive enough, you can tell that NBA is not exactly his biggest wheelhouse when he pronounces Hakeem Olajuwon's name differently every time he says it.
2 years later, Ewing would lead Georgetown to a national championship, defeating the University of Houston and Hakeem Olajuwon. It wasn't long before the belief that the 1985 draft lottery was fixed had become conventional wisdom among NBA fans. And if you thought the rumors would eventually die down, well, you'd be wrong. I mean, it's been 40 years. And here we are. ESPN, quote, "A reader named Greg K. from Fair Lawn, New Jersey," I'd give you his whole name, but I don't want him to be randomly found dead in his bathtub tonight, pointed this out to me. If you look closely, right at the 5-minute, 31-second mark, right as the commissioner yanks that Knicks envelope out, there's a noticeable crease in the corner of the envelope. You can see it for a split second. As he pulls the envelope up, it's on the corner that's pointing towards the bottom of the jar. There's a giant crease. It's right there. The same one the accountant created as he was throwing the envelopes into the drum. So you're telling me that out of the 7 envelopes in that glass drum during a lottery when the NBA desperately needed the most ballyhooed college center in 15 years to save the league's marquee franchise, the commissioner coincidentally pulled out the envelope with a giant crease in the corner that happened to have the Knicks logo on it? This is the Zapruder film of sports tapes, isn't it? That's so funny. This is the Zapruder film. It's like, if I was as into basketball as I was like political assassinations, I'd probably say stuff like that. This is the Zapruder film, and Patrick Ewing is Kennedy, and the Celtics were Castro, I guess, and the commissioner, that was the CIA. That was old Hoover. Or no, Hoover was the FBI. You get the point. It's been fantastic. Sports videos are a little out of my normal purview, but let me know if you enjoyed, and I'd be happy to cover more.
And that perfectly proves my point. The Patrick Ewing lottery conspiracy got so famous that even people completely outside of basketball still know the broad strokes of the conspiracy. They know about the envelope. They know about the Knicks' large market. They know about Patrick Ewing being one of the best prospects in the draft. And the feeling that the NBA got exactly what they wanted with the era that they were in. Nowadays, the lottery isn't even televised. It relies on those ping pong balls I mentioned earlier, and with social media and stats galore being pushed everywhere, the lottery has been made more into a math problem than anything else. Except in making everything about math and odds, it makes it seemingly easier to game the system if you know that math behind it. And the more complicated that math system gets, the more the average fan has to just take everything on faith. In 1985, the conspiracy was a bit more physical. People could point to the envelope, the creases, the angle of David Stern's hand as he went in, and they act like it was a magic trick. But now the suspense is a little bit different, because again, the real drawing happens before the broadcast. When the broadcast starts and Mark Tatum opens the envelope, it has already happened elsewhere. Except, just because something is low odds doesn't mean that it can't happen. We've seen it multiple times before. The only issue is, once again, the perception behind it, because it always looks to work out for teams and the league monetarily. In 2003, LeBron James landed in Cleveland. The most hyped prospect since Michael Jordan ended up with the team closest to Akron, where he grew up. In 2008, Derrick Rose went to Chicago after the Bulls jumped from having 1.7% odds just like the Mavs, giving them a hometown MVP level guard. In 2012, New Orleans won Anthony Davis, while the NBA had owned the Hornets. In 2019, New Orleans won again, this time with only 6% odds, right as Anthony Davis was on his way out, and the franchise needed Zion Williamson to help replace that hope that was leaving. In 2023, San Antonio got Victor Wembanyama, which lined up perfectly because San Antonio already had prospects like David Robinson and Tim Duncan. Then in 2025, again, Dallas traded Luka Doncic to the Lakers, and 3 months later won Cooper Flagg with 1.8% odds. Every one of those outcomes has math behind it. Again, a 1% chance is still a 1% chance. Low odds can hit, and that's how the lottery works. But fans do not remember lottery history as just the raw probability. They remember the story that's attached to that number. Again, Cleveland got LeBron, Chicago got D. Rose, New Orleans lost AD and got Zion. San Antonio got Wemby right when they needed him. Dallas lost Luka and ended up getting Cooper Flagg. And so people start to again view everything as a business move. The Lakers are one of the biggest brands in sports, with Forbes listing them at $10 billion in value, with $551 million in revenue and $170 million in operating cost for 2024 to 2025 season. Dallas is also a major franchise, but Forbes listed them at a $5.1 billion valuation, at nearly half the value of the Lakers. With the Lakers bringing in almost double, they bring in $144 million more in annual revenue, having a much bigger international spotlight attached to the brand. Luka's Laker debut averaged 2 million viewers on ESPN and peaked at 2.55 million, and was up 42% compared to the previous year's average NBA game on ESPN. It was an absolute blowout against the Jazz at 10:30 Eastern, and people still watched it that late into the night because Luka was in a Lakers jersey. The merchandise followed immediately afterwards as well. NBA reported that Luka finished the 2024 to 2025 season with the #1 selling jersey. The Lakers finished #1 in team merchandise, and NBAstore.com jersey sales were up 21% after the trade deadline compared with the same period the year before, driven primarily by Luka's move to the Lakers. Luka also finished third amongst the league's most viewed players on NBA social media and digital platforms with 1.82 billion views, behind only LeBron and Steph Curry. So if the NBA had to script the most profitable thing they could do, the Luka trade looks a lot like the best option. He goes to LA, and all of a sudden, the Lakers become the league's most fascinating team overnight. National TV gets their new toy and media story, jersey sales spike, social media explodes, and so on. And then Dallas, in return, gets Cooper Flagg as sort of a reset button. That all becomes the real motive section behind this conspiracy. The league doesn't need every team to be good, but it needs the right teams to stay interesting. It needs stars and places that keep national audiences engaged. It needs those angry fan bases to have something to buy back into. Trading Luka intentionally aggravated the Mavs so that they would buy more into Cooper Flagg. The draft lottery is one of the tools in the NBA ecosystem that can instantly rewrite a franchise's mood without a trade, or without free agency, and without anyone having to explain why the perfect answer arrived at the perfect time. And if you want a clear example of that, again, you can see my video of what Wemby did to San Antonio, completely turning it around. Except with the way the modern system is now, there's so many eyewitness accounts, controlled procedures, verifications of weight and size of the ping pong balls, the combinations are on a timer, and so on, and there's a chain of command where all this verification goes through that makes it simply harder to fix. And that is where the conspiracy starts running into problems. To fake the modern lottery, you would need to fool or involve a lot of people. There are team representatives in the room, as well as media witnesses, NBA officials, and Ernst Young. The combinations are all visible. The NBA posts this full drawing afterwards. If the results shown on TV did not match what happened in the room, then somebody in that room would know. If the balls or the machine was manipulated, then the people responsible would be creating one of the most dangerous scandals in American sports history over a single draft pick. That does not mean it's impossible, but it definitely makes the conspiracy much bigger than simply Adam Silver wanted a storyline. Even Wendigoon, as I mentioned earlier, did a video on the 1984 draft lottery, and even he concluded in his video that the frozen envelope theory and several others lack a lot of depth once you dive into things. Like, how could they keep the envelope from reaching room temperature for as long as it was out?
As Steve Hull said for the Replay Sports, quote, "There's also the frozen envelope theory, which goes like this. The NBA had put the Knicks envelope in a freezer before the lottery. So while all the envelopes looked the same to the naked eye, Stern could feel that the Knicks one was far colder and was able to pick it out. It would have been the perfect crime. No lingering video evidence that disappeared on its own, while allowing the envelope to sit there in plain view on national television looking like the rest. But as much as this theory has persisted over the years, the science may not necessarily support it. According to H. Ruby, upon exposure to room temperature of 70 degrees, a plain manila envelope stored in a home freezer remains cold to the touch for 52.3 seconds. I love when there's a story like this and people have taken the time to write sentences like that. Someone was so into this, they took the time to do the math on the material of manila and put it in the freezer, and I just love this level of obsession. I mean, also, like, was there a freezer in the hallway or a break room? Maybe he had a cooler. As Stern says on the broadcast the night of the lottery, Jack Wagner, the Ernst and Winnie representative who brings in the envelopes, was the only person in the room at the time the logos were placed inside the envelopes, and he had done so within the hour, keeping them exclusively in his possession the entire time. Assuming this was all true, it's certainly possible that Wagner took the Knicks card from a deep freezer and put it in the envelope. However, the footage appears to show Wagner standing off to the side with the envelope for several minutes, meaning that, unless they managed to find a way to cool the card and envelope for 6 minutes, or someone pulled off an impressive switch of the cards when the camera wasn't looking Wagner's way, and without tipping off anyone else in the room, the frozen envelope theory is almost certainly no more than a conspiracy.
However, with the age of social media, there will always be people that don't accept the result, especially with the league's move to gambling. As I mentioned in a previous video, Ipsos found in late 2025 that 49% of Americans agreed sports betting lessens the integrity of games, up 41% earlier that year and 37% in 2023. Amongst sports fans, that number was 55%. The same poll found 47% of Americans and 51% of sports fans were concerned that sporting events are rigged because of gambling. Then, in 2026, Ipsos found that the integrity number rose again, with 56% of Americans agreeing that sports betting lessens the integrity of the game. If almost half of the country is already concerned sports gambling is rigged because of gambling, then a 1.8% lottery miracle after the Luka trade is simply a match in a room full of gasoline. But again, all of that takes us back to the beginning. The league has already filled the room with media from select teams as it did last year. So if Indiana, Milwaukee, or Utah end up getting a top pick, the social media circus will continue to march on, conspiracy or not. But what do you guys think? Do you think the NBA lottery is rigged? Or do you think that a lot of people are mad just because their team didn't get it? Let me know what you think down in the comments, as well as being sure to hype this video if you enjoyed it, like, subscribe, share the video around, all that good stuff. And these are the videos that YouTube thinks that you will enjoy next. So with all that said, I will see you all in the next one.